Now, like every bike in my collection, it represents about a 10-year period, late 80s, early 90s, when this bike, among others, was being developed, had many unique features, and I'm going to talk about some of them in the course of this ride. It's a super hot day. We have just had an unlimited supply of 90 plus degree days, and we've been toughing it out trying to ride on every one of them. And it's already in the high 80s, and it's going to be 90 in less than an hour. I am getting out of here ASAP, get this thing pre-flighted, take care of all the issues on the farm, and get some wind blowing in my face. Now, sometime when it's hot like this, I pre-flight the bike inside the garage because I have a big overhead fan, and it just makes it a little bit more bearable before you have to put your gear on and get out. But the idea, as always, is try to find some shady roads, and of course, just tough it out is the name of the game here. This time of year, it's good just to get out on the open road early, and again, every time I can ride, I want to ride. We have enough rainy days and snowy road days and everything, and I do like to ride a clean bike. I like to pre-flight check the tires. I like to have all the work on a farm done ahead of time, including feeding the fish. We got a few new flowers in the garden. We've been harvesting every single day. We're making pickles as we speak, and there's just no end to the good things going on here, but it's hot. But that heat seems a little more bearable once you get the engine fired up and you start listening to the music coming out of that Muzzy muffler. That Muzzy muffler and this engine, what a nice combination that is for the street. Nice and quiet through town, and an IndyCar sound once you get out on the open road or out by the reservoirs and lakes. It's just a whole different animal, Mr. Muzzy. Now, back in the late 80s, this is an 89, this bike, and the early 90s, a lot of the manufacturers were experimenting with 16-inch wheels. This bike has a 16-inch front wheel, look how small it looks, and an 18-inch back wheel. Well, modern bikes have all settled on 17-inch just so you can get the tires. This bike can be a little bit, you had to wait in line sometime to get tires. I like the Sport Demon Pirellis. They've proven to last a reasonable amount and have a decent amount of grip. And they're available. That's the biggest thing of all. And thank you, Vlad, for hunting down these tires for me. And for a bike this old, the suspension has held up better than I thought it ever would. And because I have two of these bikes, I know I've switched the shock to see if one was better than the other. And they seem, it's an air shock in the back, by the way. A lot of people don't know this era of bike, then I call it frozen in time, because this bike is frozen in time. When you ride it, you really are riding a bike that was made in the late 80s. And that's, to me, that's a significant difference than riding any of the newer bikes in my collection, one from every 10-year period. And this is one of the nicest little areas, right around Facing Lakes, the back roads, where all the little cottages are that go up. They have a lakefront property. Beautiful back roads. It's the Facing Lakes area. Now, it was in the 80s, basically, that all the manufacturers were trying to come up with anti-dive systems. This one isn't particularly good. I usually don't even, if it's got 3 settings, and it doesn't seem to be real critical no matter which one you put it on. I just put it in the middle and leave it there. But it's not something that changed motorcycling, and of course, very soon after these bikes were made, I think most manufacturers just abandoned that idea. Now, when we used it on a track, I had a different muffler than the Muzzy. I had one that was a lot louder, but for the street, nothing is better, a nicer sounding, I think, than the Muzzy. Now, when I say frozen in time, what I mean is when you're riding this bike, you get the feel of a bike from that time period. It feels very different. Now, what's different? The seat is very comfortable. The riding position is very friendly for a bike that's supposed to be a sport type of bike. It's geared nice, that it's not a buzz bomb, geared so low that all they're looking for is ET times. And I think it's got a really, really nice styling that I was able to capitalize on. I put my own custom paintwork on it, made a few carbon fiber parts, and made it my own. Now, I have 4 historic bikes in my collection, and to be really honest about it, these are the bikes that they bring back the most memories to me. The memories, now when these bikes were new, I was at a part of my life where I didn't have a lot of extra cash to get a new one, but I always said someday I'm going to have one. It was in my mind as part of my bucket list. Fortunately, and thanks in part to Luciano, I wound up with 2 of them, and I wound up with a lot of spare parts, spare wheels, exhaust systems, and a spare engine. That is really a comforting thing to know, because as these bikes get older and older, you just can't dial up Partzilla and get new parts for them. So having a parts bike, once the bike gets old like this, means I will have this bike basically forever. And in the state of Jersey, once you have a bike historically registered and they accept it, it is a free bike forever. There's no registration fee. And it's amazing how a small thing like that, you really think about it, it's like a little cherry on a sundae. And this is why it pays to have a Valentine radar detector. You come around a blind corner and you never know what. There could be an accident or construction or worse. Now, I can't even count how many times that Valentine has saved my bacon, and especially on a thing like we just had where they were doing work, and at least you could pick up the radar before you come around the corner. Now, when I look around my garage at my collection of motorcycles and how they evolved over the years, how the features evolved, and all the modern safety features that are on, like the MT-09, you look back and you wonder, boy, they've come a long way. And this era of time was, for me, a very special time. I look back on my life and some of the things I didn't have back then, I'm so happy to have them now. And I'm glad to share some of these adventures and some of my comments and these rides. Share them with you, but it's time to get back to the farm. It was way over 90 degrees at the end of this ride. I'm glad to be home. Air conditioning, iced tea, and the bride. Hope you did enjoy sharing this ride with us. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit the like button if you did, and thank you so much for watching.